Did it, the books, the bit it, the books, the did it, the books, books.
All right. Welcome back to I'll Read It Eventually. Um, Today, I'm going to talk about some of the books that I've found recently. Um, Really odd thing about this stack of books is that almost all of them were free to me. And I'll talk about why that is in just a second. Yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books here. Um, and in total, I paid $2 for this stack of books. $2. Um, so did really well on these. I'm gonna go in reverse order of when I picked them up. That's the way the stack was when I came downstairs today, so that's the order we're going with. The first one is actually a book that I picked up today. It's called The Immortal Irishman by Timothy Egan. Egan's written a number of books. Um, he's got one on pilgrimage that I've got on a shelf out there. He's written another book that I feel like I've read, but it's escaping me now. This book is the story of Thomas Francis Meyer, who is a 19th century Irishman. He's kicked out of Ireland in the 1840s uh, because he was a bit of a revolutionary, as the title of the book says. He's the Irish revolutionary who became an American hero. He sort of bounced around the world for a couple of years, but he eventually found himself in the United States around the time of the American Civil War. And Mayer was a regimental commander during the Battle of Fredericksburg in 1862, I believe. Yeah, 62. Um, and most of his regiment, if you don't know about the Battle of Fredericksburg, most of his regiment was wiped out in a frontal assault on a very prepared position by the Army of Northern Virginia. So Mayer's a really interesting guy, real fiery kind of guy. Um, but this is a biography of him. So really looking forward to that. I also have a good friend who is very proudly Irish, and I have no doubt that he would be interested in reading this as well. So gonna hold on to this one, and maybe I'll enjoy it, and then he'll enjoy it. So the next three all kind of go together. Um, oh, well, no, I guess I paid $4 in total. This is $1.59 at Goodwill. These three, though, all go together. These are biographies of Joshua, Joseph, and Abraham by F.B. Meyer. Um, Meyer was a very famous evangelical preacher in the United Kingdom in the mid to late 19th century and into the early 20th century. He died in 1929, I think it is. Yeah. Um, but he wrote a lot of books. He was, like I said, an evangelical preacher, and he was a contemporary and friend of Dwight L. Moody. So he's very much part of an evangelical revival around the turn of the 20th century, and was writing and speaking and preaching toward that end. And so these books attempt to take a biblical figure and use the biblical text and also history and archaeology. And this one in particular about Abraham, I was reading a little bit of this morning. And it begins not by talking about what the Bible says about Abraham, but what archaeology can tell us about the city of Uruk, which is where he was from. Um, and so just trying to illuminate these people so that anyone who is interested in the Bible can understand these men within their own context. So Meyer was very much an intellectual, but also was seeking to make the Bible and the Christian faith um, accessible for all kinds of people. Remove impediments that might exist because you were afraid, oh, well, it can't be historical, it's mythological, book that founded a religion, so the Bible can't be about real history. And Meyer here is basically attempting to show that, in fact, it very much can. I just found this in one of them. God bless you. Somebody just sneezed, and that was real kismet right there. Those were, a quarter a piece, basically. Um, those three books, and then the one that I'm about to talk about, all came from a shelf at the library of the seminary that's near my house, uh, where you can pay $1 to the library and you can fill up a bag of books. So I gave them $1 and got those three, and also this one, A History of Christianity in Asia by Samuel Hugh Moffett. This is actually volume 1 of 2. Although I don't think that I'm going to pick up the second volume. It's Beginnings of Christianity to the year 1500. And basically, the goal of this history is to elucidate what's going on in the eastern half of the world when Christianity is spreading throughout Europe and the Middle East, and then North Africa as well. The Asian churches in this time period often get a little bit neglected. One of the reasons for that is linguistic. All the sources are in languages that are not Romance languages or related to Romance languages, and they're also not in Greek. And so part of it is that. Part of it is also that the vast majority of Christians in Asia from 200 to 1500, 200 to 1300, are part of what's called the Nestorian Church. Nestorianism is one of the great heresies of the first couple centuries of Christianity. And so the Nestorians get cut off from the Orthodox Church, and as a result find themselves sort of growing separately. Some scholars are going to look at that and be like, oh, well, it's just, another interpretation of the scriptures, and so it's totally fine. It's they would call it a Christianity. That's the academic or scholarly approach to Christianity nowadays, is to call it a series of Christianities and not Christianity singular, but rather plural, because they would say there is no fundamentally right interpretation of the scriptures. It's just, here's one interpretation and here's another, and so they're all fundamentally valid, at least so far as religion goes, because of course most of those scholars are also people who would say that religion itself is not valid, or at least Christianity or whatever form you believe in is not valid because it's actually false, because Jesus isn't God. So hard to take their opinions seriously as a person of faith, but there is a legitimate case to be made that Nestorian Christianity has a very long tradition, and one that isn't well known in the West. And so be very interesting to kind of dive into that. There are also, it bears saying, there are also Orthodox Christian communities in East Asia, in between the time of Constantine and the coming of the Reformation. The Assyrian Church of the East, for instance, is fundamentally an Orthodox body, small o, Orthodox body, that exists during that time period. And so it's not as if this is just a history of non-Orthodox or unorthodox Christians or even heretics. There are Orthodox Christians who existed in this time and place. So going to be very interesting to jump into this. Lots of notes in this. I've noticed that lots of notes. The end of each chapter has usually 1 to 3 pages. Oh gosh, that one has 5 pages of notes. So really well researched. Looking forward to jumping into that. Again, those last 4 books were $1. This book here, this next one, was $1 all on its own, but the last 3 books that I'm going to show you were all free to me. So worked out pretty great. Oh, I need to take the price tag off then. But you can see it was $1. Anyway, this is. I also learned how to say the author's name between now and the last time I said his name, so that's great. This is a book called Cakes and Ale by W. I know how to say his name. W. Somerset Maugham. That's how you say that. Maugham. It's like saying mom, but mom. It's great. Um, and as far as I can tell, this is essentially the story of um, a really famous author named Driffield, and he's got this long storied career, and there's somebody who's writing a biography of him while he's still living, and then it comes to light that he has in his past has a sort of mistress muse type figure that nobody ever knew about, who sort of provided one of the foundations of his career. And so the lady who's writing about him goes and begins to speak to this person whose name is Rosie, and the story of this guy unfolds. You know, his history of his life unfolds quite differently in her telling than in his. So, Mom is one of those guys who used to be. This is a bad comparison because I don't write the same sort of stories, but like if you ever go to a bookstore and see like a million David Baldacci books, that's kind of how Somerset Maugham used to be. Um, used to be very, very popular, very commonly seen author. He didn't write as many books as David Baldacci has, but he used to be, you know, on bookshelves every couple years or every year or so with a new book. So this is one of his more well-known ones. Um, not not his most famous, but one of the more well-known books that he wrote. Um, and this copy is very old. What's this the other day? It's from 1930. No, sorry, the book is originally published in 1930. This one is from January of 1941. So really old book, really old. But I love this about this book. It's really old. You can see the pages are yellowing, and the acid in the paper has begun to sort of work on the paper, and so there's a release of chemicals in this book, and it has that old book smell. Man, love that smell. It's the best smell in the world. So, um, yeah, this dust jacket has seen better days. I actually did a little bit of repair on it. Put some tape on the inside just to hold it together a little bit. So should be good to go for a long time now because I'm not going to be rough on the dust jacket. But yeah, I don't actually really like dust jackets at all. I think they're kind of silly. But since I have the dust jacket, I may as well preserve it, especially since it's older than almost everyone I know. So yeah, yeah, got to take the price tag off of that though. Do that after this. Oh, and I need to take a tag off this one. Weird. Um, the next one's not in the best of shape and still has a tag on it, which I need to deal with. Um, but I read the back. I'd seen the title before, but I read the back and I realized, you know, that sounds like a book I would actually really enjoy. This is The Rise of Silas Lapham by William Dean Howells. And it's sort of a satire of high class British, or not British, Boston society in the 19th century. Specifically, it says on the back here, in the Gilded Age. Um, so you have a guy who kind of strikes it rich, that would be Silas Lapham, and then he goes to Boston to sort of be a part of the smart set, and turns out that it actually kind of ruins his life a little bit, at least according to the back of the book. So, be interested to see how that goes. Um, yeah, but I've heard a lot about this. This is a classic novel. You can, it's literally in Penguin Classic binding, so you know that it is, at least in a sense, a classic novel. But I've heard about this one before. That came off super easy. It's great. I've heard about this one before, and so think this should be pretty good. Needs some cleaning on the cover too. Jeez, I did not realize that was like that. That one needs some TLC. But that's okay, because the inside's still just fine. This book is one that essentially I got for free, because what I did is I took a box of books to Half Price Books and sold them, and then paid for this one, the next one, and the next one out of the proceeds, and then still received a little bit of money back. So, in terms of the book economy of this room, that's for free because I came out ahead on them. So I know that's not actually how that works, but in book economy terms, that's how that works. So the next one is another classic novel. I've heard the title of many times. Heard it's really good. So looking forward to reading this one. I'm actually currently reading a book. Oh, wow, there it is. I'm currently reading a book by this author. This is Silas Marner by George Eliot. Get a good look at Silas Marner, or I assume it's Silas Marner. No, that's not Silas. But it's about a guy who hoards his wealth and it drives him insane. Um, so, looking forward to that for a number of reasons. Sounds really interesting. But this is a classic novel. It's really short, or at least it's pretty short. In this edition, the pages are chock full of words. But this edition's less than 200 pages. So, Silas Marner by George Eliot. I'm currently reading what is often agreed to be one of the best novels in the English language, which is Middlemarch by George Eliot. I will say it is enjoyable. I don't know that I'm going to come out saying it's the best novel in the English language, but it's certainly enjoyable. No complaints from me. So, sorry, there's a page that's dog-eared at the bottom. I hate that. Come on now. This is going to be a great addition.
Anything mechanical, give it a good bash. Try now.
Okay. Great part of the video. Anyway, cap it all off. Again, this is a book that I paid for out of the proceeds of that sale and still received some money back from, so came out ahead. Good, another dog ear. Wait another 30 seconds, why don't you? No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to wait that long. This is the great Marlborough, and his Duchess. The Duke of Marlborough. That's a weird word. The Duke in question, this fella, that guy there, he's an ancestor of Winston Churchill, and he's kind of the statesman that made the British Empire in the 1600s and early 1700s. So, the Duke of Marlborough, there it is. Knew I would get it. He's an enormously important figure in British history, and this is about essentially it's a dual biography of he and his wife. His wife's name, to give her the billing that she deserves, is Sarah Jennings. So, little Duchess Sarah Jennings, the Duchess of Marlborough. And this is essentially a history of their lives, a biography of their lives together, and how he in particular, but also she, influenced historical events during their lifetimes. So, yeah, so that's what I picked up recently. I also picked up some books for the school library, but I'm not going to show those because then this video would be massively long. And we don't need that. So, yeah, that's all for now. See you later. Go read something. That's what I'm about to do.